Alright everyone, welcome back to the channel. So in this episode, zero crypto gains since 2018, we're going to be talking about, you guessed it, the fact that since the onset of 2018, but more specifically approximately around the range of the 11th of December 2017, we have witnessed no gains within the cryptocurrency market. Specifically for this video, we're going to be looking at Bitcoin, Ethereum, the total crypto market cap, the altcoin market cap, the others market cap, and then we're going to be delving into some of the OG cryptocurrencies which were obviously around for the 2018 cycle, such as XRP, Litecoin, Tron, Link, and Monero, and subsequently pointing out the fact that for the majority of them, we have made no gains to trade if you've been hodling since 2018. Let's jump right into the video. So I mentioned this briefly. We specifically looked at Bitcoin when I made this video about an hour ago, talking about the fact that Bitcoin had broken below the previous cycle high, and this made me interested to look at how other cryptocurrencies are performing. So that's what we're going to dive into right now. So, right off the bat, keeping it short and sweet with Bitcoin, I'm sure all of you know, we are currently capitulating below the 2018 all-time high. Now, I'm not going to measure the data traded or the length of data traded between all of these charts. Specifically, it will just kind of drag out the video for no particular reason, but nonetheless, you can see 1,652 days approximately, we have been now the same price. So I'm going to generalize and say that approximately 4.5 years is what all of these charts are, but bear in mind some of them will be about a week in or a week out from this result. So with that being said, as you can see, Bitcoin has made no gains since 2018 if you have been hodling. If you've been swing trading between this like myself, then obviously you would have walked away with gains, but what I'm highlighting is that we are at the same price as 4 years ago. If we look at Ethereum, these aren't my main charts, by the way, if you're wondering why these are so plain. I do most of my altcoin analysis over on a different browser here, but for this video specifically, I just want to show you it's super clear cut. And as you can see, January 2018, this was where Ethereum topped out. So, like I said, some of these are a couple of weeks apart. This is approximately like 2 or 3 weeks away from Bitcoin's bottom. But Ethereum's doing a lot worse. We're massively capitulating already below the previous all-time high, which is very interesting. And one other thing I would like to show you about Bitcoin is when we do quantify Bitcoin against the M2 money supply. So another way of saying that is when we're accounting for inflation by dividing BTC USD by the M2 money supply. We highlighted this about a month and a half ago to 2 months ago, and we were talking about this being a leading indicator of the capitulation because Bitcoin had already capitulated below the previous all-time high about 6 to 7 weeks ago. And once again, this was something that I shared with the cowboy community over on my YouTube. But nonetheless, when you account for the money supply, Bitcoin had long capitulated below its previous all-time high. So round about this date, the 9th of May, is when we started talking about this. And on the 9th of May, we obviously were having our Bitcoin maxi bear hats on. And, just another indicator, when you do look at the money supply, the only reason that these are relatively even holding up at their all-time high right now, like Ethereum, is because of the increase in the money supply. So I imagine if we divided the Ethereum USD pair against the M2, it would be much further down, because as you can imagine, all the free money that's flown its way into the economy has pumped up the price of these asset classes. With that being said, Ethereum massively capitulating below the previous all-time high, down about 33%. That is nasty. Now we're going to move over to Total One. This is basically the entirety of the crypto market cap. So the total crypto market cap is basically the market cap of Bitcoin and the market cap of all the altcoins added together. So as you can see, we have not yet taken out the 2018 all-time high in January of 2018, but what you will notice is we are literally a couple of millimeters away from it, and I imagine we're probably a percentage point or two away from it, about 3.5% of the way from coming down to the previous all-time high, which once again is very interesting, indicating that for pretty much all of these charts we've looked at so far, there has literally been no growth in over 4 years, which is very brutal. Let's move over to Total 2. Now, this is the altcoin market cap. So when we look at what the altcoins are doing, what you will notice is altcoins are capitulating below their 2018 all-time high, which just shows that at this moment in time, altcoins are very weak in the macro term. Now, a lot of altcoins, a lot of the move to earns, a bunch of this relatively lower market cap altcoins, even some of the higher ones like Solana, they have been outperforming Bitcoin for the past year. But what's interesting to note is that they are not performing that well in the macro timeframes. And we can also see this when we look at the Bitcoin dominance. So as I've said before, when the Bitcoin dominance is crashing, it means that altcoins are outperforming Bitcoin. When the Bitcoin dominance is pumping, like it has been for the past couple of months, it means that Bitcoin's outperforming altcoins. Now, with this data that we have over on the Bitcoin dominance, you will notice that back in 2018, this was where the Bitcoin dominance bottomed. Now, coming into this market cycle, you would expect diminished returns, and as such, you would expect something like this to play out, where you make new lows, and then when you do come up, you make a lower high, not as high as before, and that makes sense because there's more altcoins in the market cap. That is what you would think from a logical perspective, but what actually happened is there were tens of thousands more of altcoins in the market, yet the Bitcoin dominance made a higher low, meaning that Bitcoin is massively outperforming, even though altcoins are coming in the market day after day after day, week after week. There's a new shitcoin. Very interesting to see that Bitcoin is outperforming that. So when you move over to the total 2, you will see, once again, this is another one which is not performing well. So the altcoin market cap has already started to capitulate back down from its 2018 lows. Now, if we move over to the others, now the others is a subset of altcoins within the top 125 minus the majority of the blue chips. So for example, this constitutes pretty much everything within the top 125, but it would remove itself from some cryptocurrencies such as Solana, Ethereum, and Bitcoin, which obviously have a relatively high market cap. The others you can think of as these are the cryptocurrencies in the top 125, which are not blue chips within the top 10 or so. So that being said, you can see we are breaking below the 786 Fibonacci and drawing from our previous all-time high in January of 2018. We are once again a few percentile points away from capitulating back down. So with this, the others is slightly more, it's holding up slightly better than some of the others, especially within the past week. You can see the others dominance is going up against other cryptocurrencies, but nonetheless, the others in terms of their USD valuation, just like everything else, is coming back down to its 2018 levels, once again indicating no growth for more than 4 years. Now, XRP. Now, this is one of the wild cards because, as you can see with XRP, this was the previous all-time high in January of 2018, and most of the market structures that we've looked at have a previous all-time high, they come down for a bear market, and they make a new all-time high. This is, you know, the major signal of an altcoin performing well, is that in the macro term, as you can see from January in 2014, it came up, had a bear market, made a new all-time high. You would expect for this cryptocurrency to come down, have another bear market, and come up to make a new all-time high. But like I said, XRP is a bit of a wild card. We did not make a new all-time high. In fact, this was probably one of the worst performing cryptocurrencies within this market cycle. You know, the XRP cult was, they were all saying, you know, $10 XRP, $100 XRP, $100 XRP coming. And what did we do? We made a lower low. We didn't come within 41% of the previous all-time high, which just shows how weak XRP is. This cryptocurrency is absolutely weak right now. And if we mark, I keep on messing that up, if we mark a horizontal ray from where we are at this moment in time, you can see the valuation we are sitting at for XRP USD at this moment in time, of the time recording this at the 20th of June 2020, is the exact same price as it was in the 15th of May 2017, which is absolutely brutal because this would obviously be indicative that XRP has witnessed no growth from the past 1,855 days. And I think this is going to continue. I wouldn't be surprised. And in fact, this is what I'm betting on. I'm betting on XRP coming back down to its 2014 price down here at 6 cents. And then I imagine, you know, maybe it could do something like this. Maybe it will come up. make another lower low, and then at some point I do think XRP is going to zero, which basically, you know, my channel, the whole point of my channel is I try and provide an unbiased perspective. I look at these charts like a robot, and I don't like to bring my emotions in. And the goal of my channel is not to be, you know, the most liked YouTuber. I'm not here to say, you know, every crypto is going to the moon and every crypto is going to make it, because in reality, that is not how the markets work. And I'd much rather be objective and keep a level head and tell you that this cryptocurrency is absolute garbage and have the XRP dislike me than have a bunch of followers that don't actually share my opinion because I'm capping. So I do not think XRP is a good cryptocurrency. This is centralized garbage. In my opinion, it's going to zero. Made a lower low in terms of the macro structure, meaning that at no point in time, if you've been holding XRP for basically the past 5 years, at no point in time, if you've been hodling, are you in profit. So I think that's going to keep on moving down. I think people are going to get bored of this and they are going to move on to new things. Now, you could argue this is because of their SEC case, but even such, I would disagree. Obviously, the SEC case has not got good implications on the price, but nonetheless, I wouldn't have seen this going up to the all-time high anyway. So that's just my opinion anyway. Let's move over to the next cryptocurrency, and this is Litecoin. This is another cryptocurrency I'm really not a fan of. This is basically Bitcoin's old testnet, and in my opinion has no intrinsic value other than the value that it provided for the Bitcoin network, which subsequently wouldn't be a reason to own Litecoin in the first place. That being said, as you can see from here, December 2017, this was the previous all-time high. This was another cryptocurrency that made a lower high, because if we actually look at the exact value this came up to, put it right here, you can see this topped out on this line right here over on the chart. And if we zoom in, you will notice that we had a perfect double top, which was a slight lower low, or lower high rather, from the previous cycle. It didn't make it within about $10 to $15 within reach of the previous all-time high, which is interesting. And if we actually look at how Litecoin is performing, this is also interesting. So a lot of people think, you know, if you just buy every single cryptocurrency and hodl it for the rest of your life, then you'll be fine. But according to the data that we have on Litecoin, if you've been hodling Litecoin from any period in time from the 12th of June 2017, unless you bought the exact bottom, then you would not have been in profit for the past 5 years. So some of these charts have not been performing well in the past 4 years. Some of them have been 5 years, and some of them that we're going to look at in a second, such as Link, have slightly, very, very slightly outperformed since 2018. So this is why we're generalizing and saying in the past 4 years we've seen no gains, because in some charts we've seen exactly no gains in 4 years. Some of them we're seeing 4.5 years. Some of them we're seeing no gains in 5 years, and some of them have still held on to their gains from 2018, but not too much. So moving on from Litecoin, like I said, no gains in the past 5 years. If we move over to Tron, now if we mark the previous cycle top up here in June of 2018. Now let's find the exact top over for Tron. So if we type in coin market cap, load this up, and type in Tron, then the exact all-time high for Tron back in 2018 was coming in at around 20 cents or so. So if we move this up over on our chart, 20 cent was whereabouts this was. This was another cryptocurrency that, once again, as you can see up here, you know, 20, 23 cent or so. This market cycle, it really only came up to about 16, 17 cents. So Tron is another one of these ones that did not even make a new all-time high. And in fact, if we look at this, you will notice that from where we wick down here, or even if you want to consider from where we are at this moment in time, we are basically within this range at this moment in time. And as you can see, there have been no gains to date since June of 2018, which once again represents about another 4 years or so of no gains over on the Tron ecosystem. So now if we move on to Link and Monero. Now, Link is very interesting. This is somewhat of a market outlier, and we can associate this with how well Link performed in the bear market. Well, When I say how well it performed in the bear market, I really mean in the crab market. And what I mean by the crab market is that Bitcoin has these phases where it has bull markets and bear markets, but sometimes we have what I like to call as a crab market. Now, in the macro term, you can see while this is a very, very large range, we more or less just went sideways. And if you don't want to consider that sideways, you can maybe just draw from here because, you know, we were back down at these lows. And yes, we did have a massive rally, but we had a throwback into this range one more time. So this was somewhat of a crab market back in the day. But what was Link doing while BTC was having that crab market? As you can see, Link was going on a massive run. So December 2011, this was where Link bottomed. This was also where Bitcoin bottomed. But what you will notice is Link went on a massive rally, and even against the BTC pair, it did have a very, very strong move. So January of 2018 was Link's previous all-time high, and you can see this is coming in at a valuation of about $1.48. I miss those days. I remember back in the day buying, you know, truckloads of Link at like 3 cent, 4 cent, 10 cent. I got a lot of Link at like 10 cent, 20 cent, and I stopped buying at $1, but this went on a massive rally. I don't hold any Link anymore. I wish I could say I sold it up here at $54, but the reality is I let go of a lot of my bags around about the $20 to $25 mark, which, you know, in hindsight, yeah, I missed out about another 2x, but obviously I don't have a crystal ball, and I was buying around about 20 cent, 10 cent, and $1. So, you know, this was one of my first major gains to be made in the crypto market. So I was definitely happy with what I made over in Link, and I will be looking at Link to hopefully see, is this going to be another one of the ones that outperforms a lot of the crypto markets? But getting back to the subject at hand, January 2018, you can still see Link is holding up very, very nicely. From 4 years ago, Link is still up 296%. Now, am I saying that it's going to bottom at this exact value and it's not going to go any lower? Absolutely not. I think Link is going a lot lower. I think all of the altcoins are going lower before they get better now. If we draw from the pandemic crash, you can very much see that we are below the 786. So I do think we are going to continue moving to the downside for Link. Nonetheless, I do not necessarily believe that we would be back down at the 2018 range. Could be wrong, but once again, take it with a grain of salt, because I have been saying I am not buying any altcoins until the Fed pivots. If you want to know more about that, then be sure to check out my channel, and I've made videos specifically titled "Until the Fed Pivots ... So you'll be able to realize which videos I'm talking about it in. But let's move over onto the last chart before we do wrap up this video. And this is what I want to talk about of what's going on over on XMR. Did we talk about Doge? I don't think we talked about Doge, so I must have somehow chopped this out. So if we look at Doge quickly and then we look at XMR, which is Monero, you can see Doge is also one of the ones, just like Chainlink, which is also performing well. And as you can see, very quickly, we are up approximately 180% since the 2018 all-time highs, which is very, very good. So as you can see, Dogecoin seems to be a good macro performer as well. And predominantly with Dogecoin, it pretty much moves in boom and bust cycles very, very quickly. Whereas most of the crypto markets do something like this, you know, having these slow grinds up and then slow grinds down into a crab market, and then, you know, slow grinds up. Dogecoin is pretty much, you know, crab market, boom, massive bear market, crab market, boom, and then massive bear market. And I think this is going to take us down to, you know, round about 3 cent or so. I once again would be hard pressed to see this particular cryptocurrency falling back down to the 1 cent mark, or particularly down to the previous all-time high, but I wouldn't be surprised if it did something like this, you know, into the next cycle. So Doge also seems to be a good market cycle reformer. And XMR, this is one of the disappointing ones, because I am actually a big fan of the Monero ecosystem, although I do not hold any of it myself. I used to hold it, but I have not been big on Monero, and I haven't held Monero, or I haven't held too much Monero. I did make a couple of swing trades in the past bull market, but I currently don't hold Monero, and I do not hold Monero because on the majority of centralized exchanges, you cannot buy Monero. Now, Is that a bad thing? You cannot. Well, it is a bad thing that you can't buy Monero on centralized exchanges. They do it because it's a privacy coin, and people associate this cryptocurrency with terrorists demanding ransoms for kidnapped people, drug cartels, etc., etc., etc. And the fact of the matter is, if I send, if I send an assassin, $100,000 to go and assassinate someone in a bank, or even if I send it in Bitcoin or Solana, they can very much track that address back down to me, and they can track the recipient's address back to that person that I'm sending it to. However, if I was to send someone a payment for something, illegal in Monero, which, by the way, I'm not endorsing, I'm 100% not saying this is something I would do. I would definitely not do anything illegal. This is not what I'm recommending to anyone. I'm just explaining this is why centralized exchanges and governments do not want Monero. It's because if I sent someone 100,000 to go and assassinate someone, they cannot distinguish that 100,000 Monero coins from any other Monero coins. So I could spend, I could spend some Monero on an assassination attempt, and I could send some Monero to buy a new chair, or to buy some paint for my wall, and they would not be able, if you were to send that Monero to a centralized exchange to liquidate it, to sell it for USD or GBP, whatever your currency is, they're not able to distinguish which Monero came from where, and where it's from. Whereas with Bitcoin, you are able to do that. So this is why Monero is banned, and this is why it's been performing very, very poorly, in my opinion. I don't even really think it is, in my opinion, because I don't think many people can argue that if this wasn't on Coinbase, then more people would be buying it, and thus the market cap would be higher. But as you can see, this is another one that made a double top in December of 2017. Representing about 4.5 years worth of no gains. However, if we take it back a leg to the level that we're at right now, sitting at $100, you can see if you were hodling Monero since August of 2017, which represents almost 5 years, not quite 5 years, about 4.75 if I'm not mistaken, right off the top of my head. This would represent, like I said, almost 5 years worth of no gains to be made if you were hodling it for the past 5 years, which is, once again, pretty brutal. So as a general rule of thumb, to summarize the video, the majority of these cryptocurrencies, whether we're looking at Bitcoin, whether we're looking at blue chips like Ethereum, or whether we're looking at the OG cryptocurrencies like Dogecoin, Tron, XRP, Litecoin, and Monero from back in the day, and also Chainlink, of course, the majority of these, if not all of these, almost all of these, are right back down to their 2018 levels, representing that there has been no gains to be made in the cryptocurrency markets for approximately the past 4 to 5 years. So wrapping up the video, it is very clear that we are in a whole different cycle and a whole different storm than what we've previously witnessed in other cycles. And I've said this many, many times. I've said it in live streams. I've said it in videos over on my channel on Bitcoin. But I'll say it again. I was here in the 2018 bear market, and what we're witnessing right now in this bear market is so much more bearish than what we were witnessing back in 2018. Back in 2018, there was definitely a swarm of bearish news that did subsequently onslaught and decimate the price. Nonetheless, what we're witnessing at this moment in time, specifically with inflation, stagflation, the US economy, the interest rates that are being raised through the roof right now, there's such a new storm of bearish news. I mean, we can even talk about, a potential, World War III. I mean, I don't want to go into geopolitical news and what's going on around the world. From a news perspective, I'm sure you're all privy to this information and you're all very aware of it at this moment in time. But nonetheless, there's so much bearish stuff going on with the economy and with the world at this moment in time. So in my opinion, we are definitely in a market cycle that is at least twice as bearish as it was back in 2018. And subsequently, I think that we should hedge our price targets further to the downside instead of looking back at previous cycles and saying, okay, this is what happened back in this cycle, and this is what happened back in this cycle, so this has to play out again. I think what we're witnessing at this moment in time, and it's, once again, very provable in the charts, we're witnessing something that we've just not witnessed before. And that is a massive, massive landslide over in the entirety of the markets, not just the crypto markets, but the stock markets as well. So with that being said, I hope you enjoyed today's video. Zero growth in the crypto market since 2018. We've been through everything that we need to go through. So as always, not financial advice, cowboy out, and most importantly, peace.